Okay, so let's dive into this, right? Sustainability reporting. Like, are auditors really on board with this whole ESG thing?
Yeah, it's a big question.
It is, and you've sent us this commentary by Bertrand Malsch. Have you seen this?
Oh yeah, Malsch's work always gets you thinking.
It does, and this one, it gets, I don't know, it's a little spicy in a way.
Yeah.
Like, he compares accounting firms to catfish.
Catfishing. Now, that's not a term you expect to hear in the accounting world, is it?
Not every day, right? But then when you really dig into it, what he's saying, it kind of makes you think, maybe he's onto something.
Yeah, there's a good point in there.
There is. So he talks about this thing called an institutional match. I don't know if you're familiar with that term.
Yeah, so institutional match, it's basically, companies nowadays, when they're looking for an auditor, they're not just looking for someone to check the boxes.
Right. It's bigger than that.
Yeah. They want someone who gets them, shares their values, especially on things like sustainability, being a responsible business, all that.
It's a partnership.
Absolutely. And social media, it plays a huge role in all of this.
Oh, for sure.
It's all about perception.
So okay, imagine you're a company, right? And you want to show everybody you're serious about this whole sustainability thing. So you start tweeting about your ESG initiatives and bam, suddenly you're like a sustainability rock star, at least on Twitter.
Exactly, but Malsch is saying, hold on a minute, these online personas, they can be...
A little deceiving.
Yeah. Just because a company, or even an accounting firm for that matter, is tweeting up a storm about ESG, doesn't mean that's actually reflected in what they're doing day to day.
And that's where the whole catfishing thing comes in.
Right. It's like they're presenting this polished image all about sustainability, but behind the scenes... Who knows?
Could be a different story.
Exactly. And this is especially important with accounting firms, right? I mean, they're supposed to be the independent ones.
The objective voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Helping companies measure their sustainability, report it all transparently. So, there's a lot at stake here.
And what's really interesting, Malsch kind of hints at this. He's like, a lot of these tweets about sustainability, they're not even coming from the auditors themselves. It's the firm's communications people.
Oh, yeah, the PR machine.
So it makes you wonder, right?
It does.
If the auditors aren't the ones actually doing these sustainability audits, I mean, does it even matter what their Twitter feed looks like?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
So it's all a bit of a show then?
Well, not necessarily. This is where Malsch's argument gets really interesting. He talks about this idea of auditors acting as information intermediaries, which sounds kind of jargony, but actually...
Explain. I'm listening. What's that about?
So... think about it. A lot of these companies, especially the big ones, they actually have former auditors on their own teams, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
So it's not like auditors have this, secret knowledge about sustainability that nobody else has access to.
Right.
It's more about the kind of knowledge that you get from experience, from seeing how things work in different companies. Malsch calls it tacit knowledge.
Tacit knowledge. So it's not just about knowing the rules. It's about understanding how those rules actually play out in the real world.
Exactly. It's about recognizing the red flags, seeing the bigger picture that a single company might miss because they're just focused on their own little world.
So like having a backstage pass, seeing how different companies are handling all this sustainability stuff.
Exactly. And not just that, auditors, they're also talking to regulators, investors, other auditors. So they've got their finger on the pulse,
But Malsch does say there are some limitations to this whole knowledge sharing thing, right?
Oh, absolutely. He makes this point, if sustainability isn't actually part of the core audit, how much real talk about ESG can actually happen when you're supposed to be, laser focused on the financials?
Right, different priorities.
Yeah, it's like trying to have a deep conversation at a rock concert.
Tough environment.
Totally. And that leads to another point Malsch makes about this term ESG. We need to be careful about lumping everything together,
Environmental, social, governance.
Yeah, it's easy to do, but those three things, they're not all the same. Reporting on environmental stuff, that's different from social impact, which is different again from governance.
So break it down for me. What are the key differences? Why does it even matter?
Well, take environmental issues, right? Measuring a company's environmental footprint. That often involves some pretty hardcore data analysis, maybe even scientific modeling. Then you've got social factors like labor practices, human rights, supply chains, and then governance. That gets into how a company makes decisions, how they handle risk, things like that. Totally different challenges.
So a company can say, hey, we're all over this ESG thing, but it doesn't really tell us what they're actually doing.
It's a good point, right? You got to dig deeper. What are they measuring? How are they measuring it? And how does that connect to actual sustainability impacts in the real world? Those are the questions.
Don't just take it at face value.
Exactly. And all this ties back into Malsch's point about accounting firms, right? They want to be seen as the experts in sustainability, but it's not a new thing, this desire for legitimacy. He actually found this study.
This study he dug up, what's that all about?
Yeah, so it was from way back in 1997, and it looked at how, get this, accountants were already trying to position themselves as like the experts in environmental auditing, even back then.
Wow, 1997, that's wow. Okay, so fast forward to today, and they're still trying to find their place in the sustainability world.
Seems like it, yeah.
But now they've got this new tool, right? Twitter. Everyone's talking about ESG on Twitter. What do you think? What does Twitter give them that maybe they didn't have back in the 90s?
That's a good question. I mean, is it the immediacy of it? You know, you post something and boom, it's out there in the world.
Everyone sees it.
Exactly. Or maybe it's that you can actually have like a conversation, a dialogue with clients, with investors, even just regular people who are interested in this stuff.
It's more engaging.
Definitely. It's not just putting out a dry report that nobody reads.
Yeah, makes you wonder how they'll use it, you know?
It's a powerful tool, that's for sure.
It is. Okay, so you've got accounting firms tweeting about ESG, trying to be the experts, but then Malsch, he kind of throws us for a loop, right? He says, we need a much broader approach to sustainability reporting.
I like that part. It shouldn't just be accountants, right?
Right. He's talking about, like, everyone getting involved. Environmental scientists, people fighting for social justice, data analysts.
Everyone. Bring all the perspectives.
Yeah, break down those walls.
Exactly. Because sustainability, it's not just about numbers in a spreadsheet.
It's about people, it's about the planet, it's complicated.
It is. And you need different people with different experiences to really understand it.
It's bigger than all of us, this whole sustainability thing.
It really is. And I think Malsch's view, it's about making that knowledge, making it accessible to everyone, not just a select few.
Democratizing it, in a way.
Yeah, I like that. Democratizing sustainability.
So we went from catfishing to democratizing sustainability.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. But before we go, Malsch, he leaves us with this thought, and I want to get your take on it. He's saying, okay, so accounting firms are already using Twitter, right? For marketing, for building their image. What else do you think they might do to solidify their position in the sustainability world?
That's a good question to leave us with. It's something to think about, right? Because he's right. Even something like auditing, we think of it as objective, black and white, but there's always more to the story.
Always. Power dynamics, strategies, all that. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up, don't you? It's a lot to think about for our listeners.
Absolutely.
So, from all of us here, thanks for diving deep with us, and until next time, keep asking those tough questions.